Hi, how are you? Good to see you. Sorry we're a little late. We're making sure that you don't have any commercials this time. Remember last time? It was like so annoying. Anyways, I'm Gordy Hoffman with BlueCat. Glad you're here. I'm off air. Does that mean anything?
That means that you're not broadcasting.
Okay.
Not
Start broadcast. Okay. Hi. How are you? Sorry we're a little bit late getting started. We just wanted to make sure that we eliminated the commercials. And I think we did that. So I'm Gordy Hoffman, and this is Blue Cat. We're here to have a little time with you today to talk about the competition. We have a big deadline on Wednesday. And Wednesday, October 15th, is our regular deadline. Our final deadline is November 15th, but our regular deadline is very important for the one reason that it's the last time that you can get our feedback back to you early. After Wednesday, the feedback doesn't come back until February. So if you want to get your feedback back by November 10th, and have the opportunity to resubmit your script based off the notes to BlueCat by the 15th, that's your way to go. So that's why everyone jumps on that. Also, the entry fee, the submission fees go up after the 15th. So if you're wanting to get in and save a little bit of money, you want to get in by Wednesday to get your early feedback. And if you're not ready, I understand that you have until November 15th, and that will be our final deadline. But we wanted to remind you of that it's about 48 hours plus some change before that happens. And I just got back from New York over the weekend. I went to the New York Film Festival. It was awesome. Saw some not so great films, which I want to tell you about. And I also saw Inherent Vice by directed and written by Paul Thomas Anderson. Amazing film. And I also saw Foxcatcher, directed by Bennett Miller. And that was also incredible. I saw that on Friday. And really fantastic movies. They'll be around, I imagine, award season time, and everyone will get a chance to see them. Very well written movies. And well constructed, great stories, and very good. So I wanted to first off get somebody from our staff to tell you about some of the interviews that we have coming up. We have a couple of cool interviews that are going to be rolling out. So you can see in the background, there's people. I don't know what they're doing. They're watching Netflix. They're watching The Office on Netflix or something. You know, there is a BlueCat Ustream going on. I don't know why you're not watching. So you remember Michelle? She's on the couch from last week. She had that unfortunate incident on Ustream, and we've restricted her because she started throwing food last week and was at the screen, and it was just not. It was weird, you know. I mean, we're trying to portray a professional. Okay, so and this is Janessa.
Hi.
And Janessa and Sarah Lynn. You remember Sarah Lynn from last week? She was helping us out. So they're gonna tell you a little bit about. I'm gonna back up. So what you guys have some really cool interviews. Who are the interviews that you got coming up?
We've got the screenwriter of Big Hero 6, which is the new Disney animated film coming out.
What is that, Big Hero 6?
Big Hero 6 was a comic book. It's a Marvel comic book, but it wasn't their most popular title. So they kind of decided to adapt it and do something really, really different. So we spoke to the screenwriter who came on to Disney and Marvel just to, help, and then ended up adapting that entire story.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah.
So that interview is coming in. What else?
So we have an interview with one of the writers of Birdman coming out. That was pretty cool. It was an awesome interview. And we also have...
Birdman is... Tell them about Birdman. Birdman's the Birdman was the closing. I'm not even in the movie or in the screen.
Someone asked if you saw it in New York.
Yeah. I did not see it. It was on Saturday night. It was the closing night film, but the people that we had been watching the movies with all week said that might have been the best film. I don't think it was better than. They liked it very much. It's very funny, and it also Michael Keaton's supposed to be amazing in it. So, we're very fortunate that we are able to get an interview with them. So that'll be a very interesting. I'm looking forward to reading that myself. So, what else do we have?
I have an interview with the two co-writers of VHS Viral. It's like a new horror anthology that's coming out towards kind of closer to Halloween. And then today...
well, do you know anything about that, Emily?
Yes, it is.
You guys remember Emily. She's... yeah, she handles all of our incoming email. She processes all your entries. We're going to have Emily on next week to give you guys some last-minute pointers about submissions and stuff, because she gets all the questions and she knows everything. And she also knows everything that people are stumbling on right now or get a little tripped up on. So she'll get into that. But she's also knows everything about horror. So do you know anything about this VHS Viral movie coming out?
Yes, it's the third in the VHS series. There are a bunch of different short horror films put together.
Oh, is this the A to Z thing, or?
No, that's the ABCs of Death.
Oh,
There's
okay.
a second one of those coming out soon too.
Yeah, I read that there was another one of those coming out. Sorry, it's a little annoying. I'm not really in the camera, but we're all trying to fit in there. So, well, very good. So this is the third. So when you interviewed this guy, So what happened?
in which one? VHS Viral?
Yeah.
So it's actually two writers. They're writing producers, and one of them kind of handles the more logistical aspects, and they talk about the ideas together, and then they go through and he writes it, and pretty much the producer, he takes note of all notes that other people give, and kind of makes it so that they only rewrite according to those notes. So
Okay.
yeah.
And what? Okay, so then you had another one other than VHS Viral.
So Nightcrawler, that's a cool one. We interviewed Dan Gilroy this morning, who's the writer and director of Nightcrawler.
Wow.
We got to see the film. That was pretty cool. It was really, really good film.
Is it good?
Yeah, it comes out on
You guys have seen all those commercials. Have you seen a lot of? I've seen a ton of commercials for that movie. Right?
Yeah.
That's it's the Jake Gyllenhaal's in it, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's going to be a big movie. So you got to interview with that guy, the director and writer.
Yeah. So
Wow, that's a huge
that'll
score.
come out sometime in the middle of this week. So
Okay, so we're going to see that come. When is that released?
Halloween.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so we're going to see that later on. So we'll have a bunch of stuff in the next 10 days. Janessa, you saw a couple movies, but you don't know if you got the interviews yet.
Yeah.
What did you see though?
I saw St. Vincent.
Yeah, you like that?
I like that a lot. The premise is basically...
Who's in that?
It's Bill Murray's in it. Naomi Watts is in it. Megan McCarthy's in it. It's a comedy, coming of age.
Melissa McCarthy.
Melissa McCarthy.
Yeah. Megan's probably her cousin or her sister or something. There's probably a Megan in there somewhere.
Yeah.
But Melissa's in it, and Naomi Watts looks really great in the trailer though. Is she good in this movie?
She's really funny. She plays a Russian stripper in it, which is kind of against her usual type. So
Yeah.
I really enjoyed it. A pregnant Russian stripper.
Oh
That's
wow.
not a spoiler.
Okay. Yeah, she's a great actress. So what did you think about the movie?
I really liked it. The premise is kind of like Dennis the Menace, but a better version of Dennis the Menace, and it's set in Brooklyn, which I really enjoy because I'm from Brooklyn.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, that's cool. It's
and
cool.
Bill Murray has a really great Brooklyn accent.
Oh, okay.
Mm-hmm.
So what do you think about the movie? Was it great, or was it an Oscar movie, or is it just a fun movie?
I don't think it's an Oscar movie. I think it's a really great film. It's a really good comedy, but I don't think it's going to be on anybody's list for maybe Golden Globes and comedy or musical. That could happen. But I don't see it on the Oscar list.
Huh.
Because I like dramas.
Yeah, that's interesting. Okay, so, and then you saw something else the other night. What did you see?
What did I see the other night?
Jason Schwartzman movie?
Yeah, I saw Listen Up, Philip. Which I like what they were trying to do, but I'm not sure they accomplished it all.
Oh,
yeah.
It's a very diplomatic way of saying that you didn't like it.
What
was it called again?
Listen Up, Philip.
Yeah. Well, I hope they don't watch this Ustream before we get a chance to interview them.
I didn't tell them to watch the Ustream.
Okay. Well, very good. So they won't know. They're not on here. But so we've got a couple of things we're still reaching out, and hopefully we'll get that stuff to you very soon. Anything else? We got the deadline coming up on Wednesday. We wanted to let everybody know about. How did the Shorts Challenge turn out?
It turned out really well. Thank you everyone who participated and hashtag Write Short Films. We really appreciate hearing how you did join the challenge, and we hope you can submit your short for the deadline. The short that you wrote, you have what, a day and a half to rewrite. Consider submitting it.
Well, it is a short, so it can. But if you're not ready, then don't send it. Just send it when the idea is just keep writing and keep working on your stuff and stuff. But if you want to, you can get feedback on your short as well. We give every feedback. Short feedback comes on both the shorts and the features. So what else happened? Somebody won the London batch we were giving away. We'll tell them about that.
So Nikki Wakefield was the winner of the London badge contest. So what we did is we pretty much had people submit scenes about London, a 3-page original scene they wrote, and we picked.
What was the scene? What was it?
Nikki's scene.
Yeah.
Nikki's scene
was it good?
Yeah, it was really funny. It was actually a scene. It took place at Parliament, and it's about these two guards who kind of, dress up and actually end up stealing people's belongings from them, and instead of like, let us hold it for you. So it was really funny.
Oh, wow, that's good. I like that.
Yeah, kind of had a good, portrayal of.
And so Nikki's going to be at the BlueCat booth or table at the London Screenwriters Festival, which is a week from this weekend. It's right. So
the 24th to the 26th.
Yeah. So about 800 writers, and there's a lot of people. Joel Schumacher's going to be there. It's a really, really nice. If you're in England or can get there. It's a fantastic. Is it the same weekend as Austin? I have a feeling it might be.
I think it is.
It's the same weekend as the Austin, and so obviously if you're over here, you might be heading to Austin, but if you're over there, you might be going to that. But the London Screenwriters Festival is a fantastic festival, and BlueCat will be there. With Nikki will be Jason Pittock, who won the Cordelia Award this year, the 2014 Cordelia Award. And he's coming down from Leeds, and he's going to be in there for the weekend. And so what else? You had that. You had the Shorts Challenge. Is there anything we're missing?
We're doing a bunch of free entry contests in the next few days. So just keep an eye out on our Facebook and our Twitter. We're just trying to get as many free entries out there as we can.
Yeah, if you're on Twitter, there's definitely an opportunity to get a free entry and get in there. So check that out. So we were talking about the Jason Pittock, who won the 2014 Cordelia Award. The Cordelia Award goes to the best screenplay by a writer in the UK. And the other international award we have is the I could probably move back in here. Is the what is it? It's the Joplin Award. I know. I'm like still like traveling in my head. I'm like in another. So the 2014 Joplin Award goes to the best international screenplay, and it's for the writer who is a script that comes to us outside of the United States, Canada, and the UK. So basically everywhere else is up for grabs. And we've had, over the years, we had some guy, a gentleman from Italy win. So we've had a couple of different places. And this year, the writer, Savion Einstein, is from Tel Aviv. And it's weird because when I called her, she was living in LA. And I was like, I think we might have a rules violation. We might have a little bit of a rule. I was like, how do you live in LA? Wait a minute. No, we always feared that people were going to submit their scripts and be like, I'm from Greenland, and they're actually, from Kansas City, just to try and sort of snake in there a little bit on the Joplin. But I clarified everything with her, and she had actually just moved over, and she is definitely qualified. And her script, The Longest Birthday, What a beautiful script. We did a reading for it in May, a table reading, and it was fantastic. It was everybody tearjerker. Well, I hate that. It's just a really beautiful script, and I'm gonna have her tell you all about it because she's actually here. She's actually here with us, and we're gonna slide her in right now. Look, there she is. Hello.
Hi.
Savion Einstein. There she is. She is the 2014 Joplin. There you are. And she's had some recent news that is really fascinating. I think a lot of people might have some questions about that. But we'll start off quickly with, well, tell us a little bit about your background writing and film and television and your professional experience, where it came from.
Well, I produced TV commercials for a long time in Israel and Europe and Asia, so that's my main background. No film school.
Right.
I interned as a reader for Steve Zalian for a little bit,
Okay.
a few years back. And that's it. Other than writing to myself.
So you were producing the commercials where?
For an Israeli company, but we were working in Europe and Asia as well. So,
Right.
was the
So
Israeli market.
how did you get into writing? How did you get to writing The Longest Birthday?
Well, I always wanted to write. Like my first book about screenwriting, I actually bought when I was like 11 years old.
Oh my gosh. What was it called?
I was a really weird girl.
Yeah,
It
yeah.
was in Hebrew. How to Write a
Okay.
Screenplay by Kobe Neem.
That's
It's
cool.
I guess like you guys have.
You still have the book?
Yeah, of course I do.
Of course.
Yeah.
Did you go back and look at it at all, or?
No, I don't want to ruin it.
Oh, 'cause you're
I have
like-
such good memories.
No,
from it.
yeah, you don't want to look at it now and be
Be
like,
like, no,
oh my gosh,
Yeah.
this is not.
This
it
is not as
doesn't-
good as I remember.
Yeah.
So yeah, that was my first, and ever since I wanted to write, and then at some point in my early 20s, I kind of got back to it, left it again after I got burned for the first time for my writing.
What? How did you get burned?
I was starting actually.
You wrote something that wasn't very good.
Well, probably, but also I kind of, I guess, encountered some not very nice people, not nice as you are, Gordy.
Oh,
So,
that's not
yeah,
good.
so it was a bad experience.
Was this where was this in Tel Aviv? Or?
Yeah, it was in
Okay.
Israel. Yeah. So yeah, but I guess I learned from it more than
Okay.
anything. But
Did
went
you
back to
stop
production.
writing or just like,
Yeah, I
okay.
stopped writing.
Oh,
went
okay.
back to production. It's like
Huh.
I'm not gonna do this.
Yeah.
And then 2-3 years ago, I quit my job again. I was like, come on, you want to write, you have to do this. Quit my job. Actually met the love of my life. And then we kind of traveled the world. It was good for me to kind of get disconnected. And then
No, that's great.
yeah, and then I always had this idea. I mean, I've had it for a few years, the idea for The Longest Birthday.
Mm.
And then when I finally had time to sit down to write, that's what stuck with me. I was like, this is what I'm going to write.
Oh, that was
So,
the idea that you
yeah.
had. So tell us about the idea.
So it's a story about a single mother who her son is dying of cancer, and they're in Israel for clinical trials. And before his birthday, she realizes that this is going to be his last birthday. So she decides on the night of his birthday to fly him from Israel back to their home in Los Angeles. And when you do that travel, because of the time differences, you actually earn 10 hours. So you can get a 34-hour birthday instead of 24.
Mm.
And so it's the longest and best birthdays yet.
Right. So
that's
thus the title, The
Yeah,
Longest
so it's
Birthday.
like their journey. It's sort of a goodbye journey, separation journey, but also for the kids.
Yeah, it's
The
such
greatest
a
birthday he's had. So,
yeah. It's such a heartbreaking
yeah, it is.
because
sad
it's
story.
going one direction, and you really don't. You don't cheat that. I mean, I don't think you're like, oh, he got cured.
No.
So it's nice in that you're being authentic with us with that, but it's such a very moving piece. I still remember reading it and being so delighted to have found it, because it was like, you always want to be proud of what we put the BlueCat name on. We want to be like, okay, is this actually a winner? And it was so special. So after that, you won, and then we did a table reading.
Which is great.
In our offices here. We have a nice place where and fortunately we had a number of people this year who were local in Los Angeles, finalists. Our winner was local, and we were able to have table readings. very easily of their work, and everybody was excited to do that. And it was great because all the writers. Well, tell us about that experience.
It was
for you.
amazing. Actually, it's the first time I've ever done that, a table read, to actually hear your words out loud. And you guys brought great actors. And it was just amazing, an amazing experience. And you learn a lot, first of all, from actually hearing it out loud. And then having this open discussion with all these great people who are actors or writers or producers, to kind of get feedback on your script after everybody sort of watched it together.
Yeah. What was it like getting like you win and then you get notes from
Yeah,
everybody?
it's
Like,
what
are you
is this?
kidding me?
I'm not going to walk
just
into the room
won.
and tell me I'm amazing and we're done.
You're telling me I gotta fix something here? I know, it's like horrible. It's like
Never ending.
I've had a couple winners where they're like, man, I'm on the phone, you're telling me you won, and then you're starting to tell me what's wrong with my script. And they're like, I thought I won BlueCat, you know, and it's just like, I'm like, okay,
No.
maybe I should wait till the second phone call to give them notes. But well, very good. So yeah, and then but the other writers that were here, it was great. You guys, this year was cool
Yeah,
because
it was
everybody
really
formed
cool.
like a little fraternity.
Yeah, and everybody's so great. Caitlin and Henry and Doug and Dennis. It was just
Right.
great.
Jeremy
And
too.
Jeremy
Jeremy Lerman, yeah.
Short, yeah.
He was a shorts finalist. He's the
Mhm.
other guy that was in LA. I think we had 6 writers out of 11 that were local this
Yeah.
year, which is
Great.
weird because some years there's nobody who's local, and it just sort of happened that way. And we ended up, it was cool because there was this, everybody had readings for everybody, and everybody came to the readings and were very supportive. It was we were very, very fortunate. We had such a lovely,
And getting to read everybody's scripts too. That was, to me, that's always.
yeah. I think it was.
special
I think it was just a really special year for us, and then so then what happened? You submitted it to another competition, which I thought you'd be completely satisfied with BlueCat. I'm shocked that
Well,
you
women
decided.
were never satisfied.
And so you decided to go to another one.
Yes, I did.
But you did.
But I only go with colors. So BlueCat, Blacklist.
Oh, okay,
Now I'm
very
waiting
good.
for something with green. Maybe.
Yeah. Like, okay, is there a green screenplay competition out there?
Green Light by
Yeah, they're
Matt Damon and
very
Ben Affleck.
good. There might be
So
something
if you're
like
watching this,
there might be something
I
out
need
there.
a green.
Right, exactly. What red?
So, yeah.
So what happened? What was how did you get to the submitting? Why did you submit to what was it called? The Blacklist
Lab.
The Blacklist Lab.
Yeah, it's one
Okay,
of the
tell us about it.
one of the initiatives they do. They have different initiatives with Warner Brothers and then Fox and the NFL. And last year they did the first Blacklist Lab, which is a few days in like almost a week in Vegas. And they take 6 writers to kind of workshop their script and kind of discuss writing and industry. And I read actually last year's participants' reviews, and I'm just, oh God, I wish I could have that experience because it sounds so amazing to kind of hang with people in
How
Vegas.
many people entered that?
I don't know. They never said.
Okay.
I know
Who knows?
I know one of their other initiatives. I think it was like 2,000 people.
Yeah, I'm
entered,
sure there's
so
a
I'm
lot.
Sure,
I
I'm sure it's a
imagine
good
there's
number.
a lot.
Yeah.
Free trip to Vegas.
Just
Maybe
forgot.
some,
Yeah,
just-
I'll talk about writing.
yeah, right. So what? So you got in.
Yeah, I did.
Wow.
I opted in, and I think it was May. And then in mid-August, I got the email saying I was shortlisted as one of the 15.
Wow.
And then you have to write a personal statement, which I hate.
What was that? What was that like?
I,
What did you write?
I just
I
wanted
love
to
eating pizza in the middle of the night.
Yeah. Like
Uh,
blackjack. I want
yeah.
to lose money.
yeah, it's like I can't wait to go to Vegas again. Last time I got arrested, it's just like
I'm not sure I can go to Vegas.
Yeah.
Not sure I'm allowed in
Yeah,
Vegas.
Is it okay if I have warrants?
Pending.
Yeah, pending warrants in Nevada.
Once we land.
Yeah. So what?
Yeah.
What was it? So you just wrote a personal statement and
Yeah, and then they got back and said, you're going to Vegas, which was great.
Whoa.
Great news. Yeah.
Wow,
really, really great.
that's incredible. So
Yeah.
what? So tell me about the week and like what happened.
Well, first of all, the first 2 days were mainly about bonding with the other writers, and then with the Blacklist team, which are amazing. Franklin Leonard, who founded the Blacklist, and then his team.
Was he there most of the time?
Yeah,
or?
he was there all the time.
Oh,
He's
okay.
unbelievable.
Wow, so cool.
Almost like you.
Oh, It sounds great. I mean, wow, that's
yeah,
awesome.
Yeah, so it was just like those days, and I don't know, a little. I guess I was a little bit nervous before I got there.
I'm
you know,
sure.
if it would be competitive or not. You know,
Yeah,
you
yeah.
put 6 writers together, so I was like,
Yeah, sure.
But everybody was great and friendly, and you know, you just like felt like a little family for that week. And then after the 2 days of bonding, we actually started working.
Okay.
So we did a peer workshop with Scott.
So everybody sobered up on the 3rd day.
No.
Oh, no.
I think we ended the peer workshop with like a shot of whiskey or something.
Oh,
Yeah.
perfect.
Never.
Okay.
But yeah, so it was monitored by Scott Mayer, who runs Go Into the Story.
Oh, right.
He's great. He's unbelievable.
Oh, that's cool.
And we kind of had, I think it was like a 7-hour session of us discussing everybody's scripts. Again, we got to read everybody's scripts and kind of get notes.
Right.
Which is great.
Right.
And then the next 2 days were 2-hour sessions with the mentors, which were Max Bornstein, who just wrote Godzilla and doing the Minority Report.
Oh, that's great.
And Jesse Wigtow, who did Throne, and Jessica Bendinger.
Okay, great.
Bring It On.
Yeah, absolutely.
All 3 of them were amazing.
Okay.
So we got to have like one-on-one 2-hour session with each one of them.
Oh, wow.
Discussing the script and the industry and just like writing.
Oh, that's so great.
It's just awesome.
Yeah.
So you kind of leave that week, first of all, just feeling,
Was it a 6-day thing?
Yeah, it was 6 days altogether. And I mean, for me, being new to town and, just moving out here, it's just great to kind of, you have this little family of BlueCat, now you have this little family of the Blacklist.
Right, of course.
Just like kind of peers and people you can talk to, and just
you're still in contact with Henry and
you guys
definitely. Still in contact.
Even Jason and
what?
Even Jason in England. So,
right. Very good. Yeah,
so,
cool.
Everybody's great.
Right.
So it's a great thing to have. I don't have that, kind of circle from film school or whatever. So
it's
really nice to have people like that.
That's great.
And knowing that people, like Max or Franklin or Scott, they got your back a little bit. They know you now, and they believe in you, and they like your writing.
Of course.
That's, I guess, like
of
good
course.
pat on the back at this point.
God, what a shot. I mean, what an incredible experience. Well, I don't know if we have any questions. Does anybody have any questions? Or?
Yeah, so one person is asking what's next for you right now.
Going back to the computer, sitting alone in my room, going back to that, because I think one of the main things I got out of both the BlueCat and now the Blacklist is that, okay, you know what you're doing. I mean, at least you're on the right track, and so now you need to have another script, I guess, to kind of show around as well, because especially with The Longest Birthday, which is kind of like a small indie sad drama, it's not a very attractive.
What was the response from managers that you met, or
they really liked the writing?
Okay.
But all of them said, "So what else do you have? Because this is not something we can send out, to kind of shop you around with, because it's a very small niche."
Did you get any managers that responded with, "I like your writing, bring me some ideas and run them by me," or they just said, "Just come back later"?
They just, I guess, they wanted to see like something else finished, and I get that. I mean,
yeah.
And I think it's better. I mean, at the beginning I was kind of disappointed, like, no, you don't want me.
Right.
But then I guess I kind of figured, I mean, it's better because I'd rather just take my new ideas, sit in the room by myself, and like bring it out with my own truth and voice, and not being contaminated by, this one thinks this one, like I think Hemingway always said that he doesn't like to discuss his ideas until he's almost done. But I guess for now,
but you have the confidence out of that experience, just be like, look, I'm just going to start writing another one, and whatever, like, look what happened with this one, even though it was clearly not a big budget studio release movie. It's like this is a small character driven story, very heavy, dramatic, tragic, implications and tone. And even though very beautiful and uplifting, but it clearly is a challenging, dramatic piece, and it's not something that's going to be like making, $800 million worldwide or anything like that next week. So, but that's fine because, because
you write what you want.
And the stories and everybody's responding to it. So next, anybody else have any other questions?
Yeah, we have a few questions.
Okay.
So is there anything you would have done differently in your writing or approaching contests, kind of knowing the outcome for you, or?
Good question.
Knowing
I
the
don't
outcome,
know.
I mean that meaning that because she won both places.
Yeah.
So is she saying that is there another thing? Well, I mean,
I guess after the contest, both with you guys and then Blacklist, because before that, because it's not a very conventional script and because it's a small drama and it's kind of a sad, like it's a tough topic, like kid dying from cancer.
right.
I was sort of fearing, oh, I made a wrong, like I made a wrong choice, or I need to change my voice, or stuff like that. But I think after those two experiences, you kind of learn to reappreciate the voice you have. And yes, it may be different, it may not be conventional, but this is my truth. And when you go with that, you end up in great places. So I think that's one of the.
Well, I mean, the one thing that I think, I get asked what kind of scripts BlueCat, and sometimes the reputation gets out. Oh, BlueCat only accepts comedies, or BlueCat only doesn't accept comedies, or BlueCat only accepts studio scripts, or BlueCat never accepts studio scripts. And the fact is that, and it looks like the same thing with Blacklist Lab, is that we take the best writing,
Yeah,
and
definitely.
it's going to be sometimes. Obviously, the Blacklist, prides itself on being very close to the industry in LA and Hollywood. And your script is very much, it's not going to be made by one of the studios. I mean, I guess like if Spielberg wanted to direct it, he probably could get it made with a studio. But beyond
Most
that,
likely,
it would probably be very challenging. And
And
it
all the
just,
6 scripts, by the way, in the lab, and I think also here, were very diverse.
yeah,
I mean, we had a Western, we had like a contemporary piece, we had another that was like turn
right.
of the century piece. So
Right.
it was really a very diverse
Right,
collection
and so
of-
I think
yeah.
I think that's what people need to understand is that, the competitions like Nichols and Blacklist and BlueCat and Austin and Sundance, maybe not Sundance. Sundance is looking for a particular voice and a particular type of film, and they're not going to take, like a commercial horror picture or a big budget, action picture or whatever. But these other places will, and everything in between. It really is not. No one is trying to they're going because they realize Blacklist. Everybody realizes that we really want the best writers, and how you express yourself is fine. And there's some of our alums that are doing very well, even though the things that they submitted to BlueCat and placed with BlueCat were very indie, like yours was more of a smaller dramatic piece. So yeah.
Okay, so what is your thought process when you come up with stories? For example, where do you start coming up with the idea for a story, and do you outline?
Ideas, I don't know where they come from. I think that's the biggest mystery. Like The Longest Birthday, for example, I had the idea when I was flying from Israel to LA. I was just on the plane. I thought, this is kind of cool. You kind of earn 10 hours. It's sort of like time travel a little bit. And then the idea sort of rolled from there, but I don't know how exactly did I get to that idea. And other than that, I read a lot, and I try to read random stuff, because it's always, you kind of find little characters or different stories or different places, and it kind of gives you ideas, and you never know when you're going to use it. I try to write everything that I encounter, or like send it to myself by email or stuff like that, and then I never know what's kind of going to spark something else. And yes, I do outline. Outline a lot. I think I take most of my time takes into outlining.
That's great.
Yeah, and I think afterwards, like if you did a good outline, and I like to do a lot of brainstorming, even before I outline, I just do pages on pages, just writing ideas and things about the characters, and most of it is not going to get into the script, but it's me creating the world for myself. So I just do a lot of brainstorming, and then I do the outline, which is probably like equivalent to a few drafts, because I just do a lot of outlining.
That's
I do
cool.
the whole, like the little cards and the index cards, and I
That's
put
great.
it, and then I have my first act, my second act, and I kind of see
That's
the story.
That's great.
And then only after that do I actually sit down to write a draft, and I always handwrite my first draft.
You always handwrite.
Yeah.
Well, that's cool.
Yeah, so
That's
I'm not thinking
How
about
Tarantino of you. Very good.
I already did that. I'm like, yes.
Yeah, you were already doing it. There's probably a few more people that do that.
Yeah.
Werner Herzog, runs this lab, and next week we're going to have a writer who got accepted to his lab, and one of the things that he really stresses is reading. Werner Herzog tells the filmmakers and the writers to read. So
Yeah.
All right. So the next one we have is, do you ever dabble in different genres?
Yeah, I just actually, after The Longest Birthday, I wrote a comedy.
oh, okay.
Yeah, it was just kind of refreshing. It was fun. Kind of preferred to kind of laugh alone than cry alone.
Right.
Depressing.
Yeah.
But I think after I finished it, and I don't think it's as good as My Longest Birthday. And I think for me, it was kind of, maybe I can do something with it along the road, but I feel like at this point and this stage, when I'm just starting out and getting to know people, I kind of want the best material to be out there. And also, something that Scott Mayer from Going to the Story told me during the lab was, he said, you have to think about how do you want people to categorize you as a writer, because that does happen. And if you don't want to write mainly comedies, don't go out with a comedy just yet, because you want to find your niche. And I think like a drama and dramedy is more my niche than actual like hardcore comedy.
Right.
So I figured, yeah, I just go back to my more, I guess, natural voice in that sense. And again, just listening to yourself, like you said, it's not like what people are looking for and what contests are looking for or what managers are looking for, because for me, I can't write like that. It's just not as good as the writing.
No.
When you do that.
So. No, I think you hear that over and over and over again, that, you write what you want to write, and that's probably the shortest route to being successful. If you try and figure out what other people what other people are thinking or feeling or wanting, I mean, that's tricky stuff. So,
cool. When is the screenplay finished, if ever?
If ever. That's a good. If ever.
If ever finished.
I don't remember who said that, but somebody said that art is never finished, is merely abandoned. So I think it's always true. You never really. And I think once even a script is a film, you sit in the theater, you go, you know what?
Yeah.
That line doesn't work. And it's like a constant, everlasting battle.
Stuff probably doesn't age very well, I imagine, but.
Yeah.
And then what doors open up when you win a contest? I think you briefly touched on that a little bit.
Yeah, I think you do get your name around, and you do get a few hits from managers and agents. I got a lot out of BlueCat. And you kind of do the first correspondence. You kind of get the feel of what people are looking for. And people get back to you saying, oh, we like the writing, but it's not for us, or we don't like the writing. That happens too. And I think it's fine. It's part of the game. And you just need to, I think for me, a lot of something big that I learned was not to let my world crush when somebody doesn't like your script, because a lot of times you do that. You get a bad review, you get a bad feedback, and all of a sudden you go, oh, this was a mistake. I shouldn't be doing this. I shouldn't be writing. And it will always be like that. There's nothing absolute. So I think it's good to kind of get first feedbacks and.
Well, you just don't take it personally. You realize that it's just coming from one person and it's their individual reaction, and it's not really in the end totally reflective of you and like sort of indictments. I mean, everyone sort of understands that, but it's hard to like actually emotionally process that and be able to be like, no, it's not about you. When it actually happens and somebody rejects you or passes on whatever you're doing or something. So well, very good. So do we have any more questions? Let's check. Okay,
wait, actually, sorry, we have one more for Sabian.
Okay.
Do you have any interest in writing for TV, or do agents and managers want you to focus on film?
I do have interest around TV, and the interesting thing is that I'm having a hard time thinking TV format. Like every idea that I have, even if I think it's a good idea for a TV show, I just can't break it down in my head that way. It's just weird. I think I need to work on that. Maybe I'm not capable of it, but no, I don't think anybody said specifically, oh, we want TV stuff, or because I'm hearing they have a little traffic jam over there as well. So like they're saying, I just read an article that a lot of the shows getting made now, they don't even go out to networks before they package it with like famous actors, because that's what like gets shows made right now. So they actually do the packaging first with the star and a lot of times the director, and only then go to the network having the package.
Well, okay.
So,
Okay.
because a lot of shows that they do want to do, they don't find stars for, and then they don't do it.
Okay.
So it's,
Okay.
I think it's constantly changing.
Right,
now.
right. Yeah, it's very, very much the industry continues to change in terms of like how you can now deliver. I mean, really, like 2 years ago, no one even knew, Orange is the New Black or House of Cards, and people, if you told people, oh, we're just going to give you the whole series in one moment, and it's a brand new series, and now. Adam Sandler is going to make movies directly for Netflix, and it's clearly people are kind of going, "Where's this going?" So, yeah. So, but the writing is, yeah, exactly. But we're writing a strong story is not changing. You know what I mean? It's like that's going to still be the currency. Well, thank you so much for coming. You'll have to come back when you. Well, anytime really, but you'll have to come back when you. I'm sure you'll win something in the next couple months. And you come back and tell us about that. It's but what a and if you have any questions, any you wanna, would you be willing to show people your script if they wanted to read The Longest Birthday, or is that?
I don't know.
Okay.
Depends who.
Yeah, depends on who.
Yeah.
Well, maybe if you're nice. If you want to read it, you want to read it. You want to make your case for reading it. Maybe just send an email to us at info@bluecatscreenplay.com, and we'll send it over to the writer, Savion. And thank you so much for coming in. I'm going to answer some more questions
and
here.
Make the October 15 deadline. It's great. It's a great contest.
Yeah. Well, thank you very much for that. Well, if you're ready, send it in. If you're not, send it somewhere else. But just keep writing, and but we're going to take a second break to let Savion sign off here, and then we'll jump into your questions for me, and we'll get into that because I imagine you might have some questions for me. And but thank you so much, and I'm sure I'll see you again very soon. So should we stop the broadcast for a second like that? Is that bad news? Should I have not done that? Probably stupid, right?
Well, it's still recording, but it's not broadcasting.
Okay. Well, it's still recording, so if you're listening to this now while we're recording, it's weird. But anyways, well, I wanted to just sign off. So thank you so much.
Sure.
I'm gonna keep going here, but I won't lose
fun.
anybody. Say hi to your husband.
I will.
And I'll see you.
Can you guys send it to me somehow? Or?
Yeah, I'll send it.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Yeah, it'll be cool.
Perfect. Great.
Yeah, I mean, there are people responding. Are people into it?
Yeah.
They're always into it.
Nice meeting you.
Yeah, we'll see. I wish we could. I know you hate to have you leave right in the middle of this, but I have to.
Yeah, no. Finish it up.
Okay.
I mean, I'm in town.
Okay, all right. Well, just keep us posted on anything, and make sure to use our email address because I know you sent it to something else, and So, all right. Well, very good. I got to jump back out of there.
Bye, girls.
Bye.
Nice meeting you.
Okay. We are. Everybody signed off apparently. Hi everybody. Okay, so let's. Why don't we get the computer up here? Wasn't that cool? She's awesome.
It's not broadcasting.
Stop broadcast?
No, it's not broadcasting.
What do you mean it's not broadcasting? Are you sure?
Oh, no, it's on.
Yeah, I mean it's on. Okay. All right, as you guys are. So no commercials, right? You're not getting any commercials?
Nope.
Okay, well that's good. All right, so that was awesome with her, right? So she's cool, and we got really lucky. I mean, sometimes it's like just you get great scripts, and then you also get great people. I mean, we're very, very fortunate, and they're all like that. So hopefully we'll get a couple more in here soon, and we're definitely gonna next week. We're gonna have. I'm not sure we have the date yet, but we're gonna have it. When are we gonna have that, you guys?
What, another Ustream?
Yeah.
The 22nd we were talking about.
The 22nd, which is
I believe it's a Wednesday.
it's next Wednesday. So next Wednesday we're going to talk to the guy a writer who went to the Warner Herzog lab, which was also very exclusive, and he will tell you all about that experience. So we'll get the word out about that. But if you know anybody who's into Warner Herzog or filmmaking and writing, obviously you want to jump in and ask Josh Nathan, who is the director that will be here with us. Young man, but very talented, and obviously he got into the Werner Herzog lab, so something's going on, and we'll be able to ask him some questions. So, all right, folks. Do you have any questions for me? I imagine anything coming up. We had some questions from last week.
Corey, I have a few questions.
Okay, very good. You want to move? You want to just come up here, Sarah Lynn,
Yes.
or move this up here?
Yeah.
Okay,
Oops.
it's a lot better without the commercials, I hope.
All right, so
Okay.
we have realistically, how much does an average script sell?
How much does an average script sell? Does that mean what are the chances of it selling? Very low. And the script can sell from anywhere from $5,000 or $500 all the way up over $1 million. So it goes all through different, it can sell for anything you want. If you want to sell it for $1, you can do that. And but the chances of it, I'm not sure if that was but it's difficult to sell, definitely to sell a script. Yeah.
Have there been any produced scripts that have won BlueCat?
Yes. Gary the Tennis Coach won in 2005, and it was made into a movie called Balls Out by Sony. And that was our winner that got made by a studio. And the winner, The Stones, in 2007 was redeveloped into The Girl Who Walks Home Alone at Night, that went to Sundance this year and is being released in a couple of weeks actually. And it's a completely different movie, but was redeveloped from the Stones. She took some of the characters and she just twisted the genre, and she redeveloped it. But that one, so in a way, I think the writer it's not the Stones, but it's definitely a different movie. And but it was sort of reworked and redeveloped. So we've actually had two that have been produced. And that was produced by Elijah Wood's production company, and it's being released by Kino, I think, Lorber, I believe. I should know that, but it's coming out, and it was a big hit at Sundance. It's gone to a number of other festivals, and it just had its Los Angeles premiere that Sundance hosted actually a few weeks ago, or in August. And so we've had two.
In high season, how many scripts a day does a reader go through?
For BlueCat, well, we hire a lot of readers. We are very careful about, we're always stressing to readers, we don't jam them up with read 12 a day or anything like that. We're very, very, because we want to have a solid staff so that they can be absorbed. So we're always hiring and we're always maintaining our standards, but we want to be able to absorb the scripts that do come in and not have people having to crank them out or anything, because we want people to maintain their standards. Look, if you feel like, you honestly feel like the BlueCat reader standard is slipped for you, and you are like, this is not, I know that Gordy would think this is not good, then let us know, and we'll check it out. Most of the time that we don't get a lot of complaints, because we do a lot of work on our end to hire good readers. And so we've learned that if we work really hard, we're very strict to hire who we hire, then we don't get the complaints on the other side, right? But anytime people do complain, it's usually they're just sort of they're responding to the feedback, and they're reacting to the feedback. But we always make sure to look and see if somebody actually does say, hey, wait a minute, this isn't up to snuff. And then sometimes we do go back and we'll get you another reader and we'll remedy the situation. So we do rely on our entrants to let us know. We don't want you to be like, look, your reader's good, don't complain, you know. But be aware that a lot of times that we do get any kind of feedback that's like, wait a minute, my reader was off. We often find that the reader gave fairly reasonable, supported, specific, honest feedback on the script that were very productive and useful notes, or a set of notes from an individual, and that we often let the feedback stand. And it's usually somebody who's just having a little problem digesting the feedback that particular week or whatever, or that day that they got it. So yeah.
Of all the people who enter BlueCat, whose scripts get seen by agents or producers? Just finalists?
Yeah, just the finalists and the winner at this point. The semifinalists we don't go out with because we really like to focus on our finalists and the people, and letting them have that. And that's really, it gives them the boost that they, instead of trying, because our semifinalists isn't 10, it's usually, it's a moving number every year, but it's usually a considerable more than the 5. And for us to try and send out 40 scripts and 40 log lines and things, it's just not, it's not serving the finalists. And we give the finalists that showcase, and it really, it allows them to really shine. And that's what we want, because in the end, they are the top scripts, and they are better than the semifinalists in our eyes. I mean, they're just in a better place. And we want to, those are the scripts we want to put forward to the industry anyway, so that the industry will continue to come back to BlueCat and ask us, because they do continue to come back, and they always want to see what we name. But if we sent them 50 scripts, I don't think they're going to, I think they will take the 5 and look at the 5. But if we give them 50, it gets a little bit more watered down.
Okay. In the contest rules, it says we can't use a pen name, but if a screenplay we submit gets optioned, can we change the written by name to a pen name if we would prefer to be known by that? Absolutely.
Absolutely. Right now, just for internal purposes, we've had difficulties in the past with people. I know it's just, this is all of our rules come from our experience. It's not like I'm just laying back in my bed going, God, let me think of another weird rule for BlueCat. These are rules that came from our experience, and essentially what was happening is we were having people change their names and submitting several scripts with different names, and we weren't able to recognize who was what, and it was just logistically and for archival purposes it was difficult. And then we were having people resubmit like year to year, and they were changing the name on the script. So they're changing the title, changing the name. And so suddenly we're thinking, oh, this is a new script. And it's like, and then I'm like, I think I read this before, And it was like, okay, stop. Like, it's like, you guys, when we get into any kind of public arena, or you get into any kind of business transaction, or you want to go out and you get to that place where you're like, we start to print your results on, like if you're a quarterfinalist and it's like, and you want to change your name to your pen name, absolutely. Always, 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 always. So trust that will happen. But for now, we want you to send in your real name, the name that's on, on your application, on your payment information, just so that internally we're able to keep things straight and avoid any kind of manipulation, of submissions year to year or anything like that just disrupts us. So,
does Gordy read any of the BlueCat submission scripts?
No, I don't even read screenplays. I never read any screenplays at all. I haven't read screenplays. I haven't read any screenplays for about 8 years. I don't even know what I'm doing here. Why am I on this broadcast? Yeah, I do. Like, I read The Longest Birthday. I was the one who read it and read the whole thing after the reader read it. The readers read it. I read it, and I was like, this is beautiful. She wins. So I've read every finalist, every winner. I've read all the ones that don't make it. I don't read every script. I get the scripts that come through. Our readers are helping me adjudicate. But in the end, I am cracking open scripts and I am judging the competition, and I make all the determinations. I have picked the winner and the finalists every year, all the time since the beginning, and so absolutely, and that's really why I think that we've been able to build a successful name and track record, because there's this, that for good or bad, there's a unified vision to, like, I say hire the reader or don't. They send me the test analysis, the reader coordinator sends me, they do it, every reader that applies, everyone that gets through our submission process, they have to do a test analysis. They do, and it's exactly like the same, and it's of a script that I've read, and they do the same thing as you get from us, okay? Then I look it over and I say yes or no. So I hire the readers that support and maintain. They can have different sensibilities than me, their own individual point of view, whatever. But I hire the readers that support my process, but I'm the one that ends up picking the scripts. So yes, I do read BlueCat submission scripts, and thankfully so. It's a gift because I've read so many, and it's influenced my own writing in a great way. And plus, I'm able to help people change their lives, and it's very exciting to be involved in BlueCat because of that. Because you just saw, as you just saw, it's a way. She'll never forget winning, BlueCat, and nobody really ever does, and so that's a great experience. And I also am able to discover and read very, very special scripts. And like I said, it's a wonderful experience to just. I read The Longest Birthday this spring. I give her the Joplin Award, and she rewrites it based off of her table reading we have in May. She submits it to the Blacklist Lab, and then Franklin Leonard in the Blacklist Lab accept it, and us seeing how we helped her get there, it's really great. So I mean, that's what we do at BlueCat, and that's when we're doing that right. That's what we always intend to do, and that's our mission. So yeah.
Someone asked where they can read BlueCat scripts.
Okay. People, we don't own the scripts, and so you can ask us if you want to contact the reader, any of the finalists. You can reach out to us, and some of them will let you read, some of them won't for whatever reason. You can I would try to, when you write, to say, hey, look, I'm a writer. I live in Georgia. I live in Oregon. I'm just trying to learn about writing. I'd love to read your script. Explain who you are, and maybe they'll let you read it. But the fact is that it is their property, and sometimes it's good to sort of hold off, especially if somebody's pursuing it as a film property. They might not send it to you, but it's not our property to send out, unfortunately. I know people ask that a lot, and but I do believe that our winners and writers often do. I think they are generous sometimes, and they will send you the script. So yeah.
Someone said, I want to write a screenplay for Marvel, but because I'm not a known writer and Marvel is Marvel, should I even bother?
I don't know. At first glance, that question, you'd be like, there's no way. Why would you even waste your time doing that? Why would you write a spec script? Because you don't own the rights, right? And I think in many cases, like if you were to be like, I'm going to write a new book comes out, I'm going to write a script on that. That's a real long shot. But if you wanted to write, if you have a really great idea, let's say if you have a really great idea for the Hulk, and you set out and you're like, I want to write this idea, you could create an incredible sample that you could send to managers. You will probably undoubtedly, there's a really, really strong chance that you will never be able to sell or produce the script that you wrote. But in the particular case of writing for a character like that, it would almost behave like a television sample, in that a manager might say, wow, this is an awesome Hulk script. Like, this is freaking great. So, I want to meet you. I want to work with you. Let's get an idea that we can sell. And so you could write a comic book spec script that could act as a terrific sample. I know some people would say, why bother? So maybe just my 2 cents. But I have a feeling that if you were to write something and that was really like a, just a fantastic, Batman script or something, and if it was really well written, I think it would be attractive to representatives. I think managers would be interested in somebody just to see, like, okay, look, you can write a very commercial studio picture clearly, so maybe we can do something else. And that happens with other stuff, so I don't know why it wouldn't, but I think you would have to understand that you would probably not get you probably would, the chances of you actually selling it. So if you're comfortable with that, go for it.
Do you think a comic style screenplay that uses original, like not known DC or Marvel characters has a good chance of catching interest?
I think we just did that one.
No. That one is asking about Marvel. This one is saying, like, if you create your own original, like, kind of characters.
Oh, not known. Okay, absolutely. That's a great idea. Like, if you can come up with a superhero comic book script that is an original. I mean, wow, you might not, maybe they don't make it, but you could probably take it to a publishing company, maybe one of the, like, Image or something like that, and show them. I mean, there's a lot of different inroads to, like, getting your work out and getting a name for yourself and getting momentum. I mean, if you can do that, absolutely. Why not? I mean, why wouldn't they? Another studio that's not in business with Marvel and DC, and suddenly they've got some incredible superhero script that's completely original. That would be very tough because they've been trying to write new superhero characters since Superman came out, in the 30s. So yeah, but good luck. But it should, I would never discourage that.
Can you share any tips on how to make a protagonist likable so we root for them?
Well, I think the best way to go about that is your feelings toward the protagonist. And that's a great barometer for to get you in the right place. Trying to think of formulaic ways, like, okay, he's got to save a cat on page 7 or something like that, or 5, or whenever it's supposed to happen. Good luck, because everybody's seen that a million times and they're getting sick of it. I think that's what I've heard. There's a little bit of a backlash to that. So how do you make a character the same way? But Blake Snyder was talking about something that's very important, which is a character that's likable and sympathetic, and that's what Save the Cat. That's what that title is about. That's what the premise of that is about. But how do you do it organically? Well, it starts with how you feel about the character. I mean, if you love your character and you're rooting for them and you have a piece of yourself invested in them, if you've forgiven the character, if you have compassion for the character, then you're going to be able to probably have a very good shot at writing something that other people are going to like. If you don't like the character, or you're detached, or you're not able to share yourself with us through the character, then chances are you're going to be trying to write from the outside in, and that's going to be difficult. Then you're going to be forcing certain things. And but if you like the character, if you love your character, that's a good start. That's a good start. So
are film companies buying less scripts these days?
I don't know. There's a demand that's high, and it maintains it stays high. I mean, they're still reading. That's never changed. There's a high demand for really great screenplays. That's not changed. There's no word on the street. I haven't read one trade article, seen any post or anything about no one's reading scripts anymore because they have too many good ones.
All right. If a submitted script is optioned before judging, do we just email you to let you know? Have you had this happen often?
Yeah, if you're ineligible for the competition, you can just email us and let us know, and we'll withdraw and make sure that you're out of this. And it happens. I mean, hasn't it happened yet, Emily, at all?
Yes, it has.
Okay, it's already happened this year, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So, what do you do when that happens?
I mark that their thing is no longer there. It's happened that they've already received their feedback, so they've they've kept that feedback. We don't take it back from them.
Yeah, yeah. So that's basically it. I mean, you just let us know, and it's not a weekly occurrence, but it definitely happens. And the fact is we're eventually, if you try and hang in there and not let us know, we're eventually going to find out, and at some point. And it's just better. You don't want to jeopardize, your position with your production company or anything weird happening or whatever. But just let us know, and we'll take care of it.
Do you think there's still a market for dystopian genre stories?
Absolutely. Why would you think? Let us know. I wish I could. Let us know why do you think it's not happening? I think people still like future stuff. I think sci-fi and most of the stuff that happens sort of the future. It's sort of the projections aren't usually like. I guess in Spike Jonze's movie, it was like sort of better because you could take the subway to the beach, but it was still sort of like ooh. So I don't know. I don't think that's going anywhere, and I don't think that's necessarily a genre, unless you be more specific and just ask us, maybe clarify your question. But I don't think that's a problem.
Is there a page on the BlueCat website to view past top scripts?
Well, like we said earlier, we have a list of every one who has won or placed, the list and the authors' names and stuff. But and there's some contact information for the writers and the finalists of recent years. And like I said, you can reach out to them and ask them and see if they'll send you the script. But we don't own the scripts, and the scripts are not available for download because they're not our property.
I keep hearing a writer should master and write in one genre. I love comedy, but I've written in many different genres. Does this hurt your chances for getting work or callbacks?
I don't know. I mean, I think that, Savion just said that Scott Myers says that, you should stay with one thing until you sort of get your brand out there. And I think that makes a lot of sense. But I also believe that people should write what they want to write. And, and just write what makes you happy and what inspires you the most. And if it's like, if you want to write a comedy, you want to write a drama, I mean, I don't think that you should get too much into forcing yourself in one direction. I think Savion had a great answer to that. If you didn't hear it, you might want to replay it again and just listen to her, because she talked about her recognizing that, her writing a comedy wasn't necessarily her strongest suit, and that right now it might not be business practical for her to keep pursuing it. And she's also inspired to write dramatic pieces, so she's not stifling herself. If you're going to stifle yourself and be like, well, I think I'm better at action, so I better write another action movie. Well, that's probably not really what you're best at if you're feeling that way about it. So just follow what you feel most strongly about, but also maybe be practical about it too. Yeah.
Okay, how do you develop the final idea from an idea into being a polished screenplay?
How do you develop a new idea?
Yeah, a new idea into being like a final polished screenplay.
Well, that's a long Ustream right there. Well, that's a long, that's basically you take the idea and you could, approach development. You could sit down and start write out page one, or you can spend the time like Savion did with her outlining, treatments, beat sheets. You could do something like that. You could talk it out. You could make a bunch of index cards, or you could just start writing. And then you want to rewrite. There's a whole process to that. So that's a long question. But, if you have an idea and you're sort of like, what do I do? My suggestion is you start writing a scene and just start, working off of a screenplay that you've read and just sort of mimic. I just feel like sneaking up on the elephant is a little bit easier than just like making a big, huge grand entrance with a bunch of development materials and, I got to prepare, I got to write a huge outline. If you're just getting going and you don't really know about the process, I would try to start writing as soon as possible. Don't you think, Sarah Lynn?
Yeah.
Okay.
Do you have any advice on formatting and character development?
Formatting is, celtx.com, CLTX.com is has free screenwriting software. So you can just download it there, and that's going to take care of almost all your formatting issues. You're not really going to have any formatting issues if you use Celtx, and it's free. So it's used by film students and writers all over the world. You don't have to buy Final Draft. Final Draft's great. I have Final Draft. They gave it to me when I was working at USC, and I think I updated it and actually bought a copy of, I don't know. But anyways, either way, it's fine. I think what I did was, because they gave it to me, I ended up staying with Final Draft. But Celtx is perfectly fine. What do you use?
I use Final Draft.
You use Final Draft. Sarah Lynn's a writer, very good writer. You can't really see her. Why aren't you? Okay. So Sarah Lynn's a writer. But you graduated from Chapman, right? Okay. When did you get out of Chapman?
2013.
Okay.
So.
And you got your degree in
screenwriting and public relations and
okay.
advertising.
Great. So what do the students use for formatting there?
Mainly Final Draft, but we have it there on the school computers.
So
you can use it to whatever, and then when you graduate, usually you just end up buying it. So.
Okay, great. But you heard of Celtx, people use it all the time.
Great. Yeah.
Yeah, it's very, very popular. So that's, deal with that. And in terms of character development, I mean, again, you just want to start writing and most importantly, you just want to feel your own personal connection to the characters. It's very important for you to have a relationship with your characters. And aren't you going to stay in the camera? Or weird. She's shy. She keeps ducking out. What are you guys doing? What are you watching? Louis C.K. or who?
No, we're reading the questions.
Oh, okay. The questions, they must be really funny because you keep giggling back there like it must be pretty dark. Meanwhile, Emily is working really hard trying to process all the entries that are coming in. Mm-hmm. So, well, very good. So, and then character development, that's the biggest thing. I think obviously through the process of rewriting, you're going to get to know your characters. You're going to get notes from other people. You're going to feel different things. But the biggest thing is your relationship, I think, to the character and how it represents a part of you or a part of you that you understand and that you have compassion for. I think people don't really think about that very much. I think they think about characters as sort of intellectual exercises and very removed from their own personal experience. And they don't really even think about how they relate to them or how relatable they are. But yeah, that's I mean, that's the short answer, that it's about how you feel about them, and the more that you understand and have compassion for your characters, the better I think they're going to be off in the long run.
Okay, is character age and description a must or limiting when casting?
I'm sorry, what was that question again?
Is character age and description a must, or is it limiting when you're casting?
No, I think you want to have at least the age. You got to have the age. I mean, you can't just say William, and introduce a character. We don't know if he's 81 or 7. I mean, you want to know who he is, the ages. And I also think you want to have a little bit of description about him. You don't have to go on very long. Maybe a few words, maybe a sentence or two. But I would definitely a little bit of description, give us an eye, but definitely an age. I think an age is required, and I don't think it really. I think if people love your story, they're not going to get caught up. They're going to be like, "What's this 32?" But if they really are trying to make it work, they're casting people are very creative and smart and flexible, and they're paid to sort of know to stretch things and be like, well, what if he's 40 and we get this guy, and so I don't think they're gonna be like, okay, we got to get somebody who's 32, forget it. So I wouldn't worry about that.
Okay, cool. And then we have some questions from last week that Michelle's gonna read out.
What is the process for reading a script?
What is the process for reading a script? Okay, so rating a script. Yeah. Okay, well, we have essentially the feedback that we pay most attention to is the written feedback. We do have a numerical guide that are over 6 different elements. rating from 1 to 6, I think, 1 to 6, and with 6 being the highest. And there's dialogue, character, clarity, story. There's 6 different elements, and though that score is given by the reader, and that helps to sort of guide the piece a little bit. But the feedback and me actually ended up reading it is probably the most important thing in the long run. We do try and make sure that everything over a certain score is looked at, and we even go lower than the score. And it's very, very. We try to be very thorough every year.
How do you determine the balance between description and dialogue?
How do you determine the balance between description and dialogue? Well, I mean, there has to be a nice back and forth between it. I mean, scripts that are overloaded with dialogue start to lose a visual component. The cinematic quality of it sort of drops, and it's like, and you start to not really see anything in your mind when you're reading a lot of dialogue. And then, of course, I mean, you can have a script where there's not a lot of dialogue, but if the description is too long and very lots of extra words and stuff, that can really slow down the experience of the reader and their ability to connect emotionally to the script. So you want to keep your description very tight and very sparse, so that they have a lot of energy and stamina for the emotional experience of reading your script and the story in which it's going to deliver that emotional experience. So you definitely want to be able to move back and forth between those elements of dialogue and description, and do it in a nimble way.
What's the difference between BlueCat and other contests?
What's the difference between BlueCat and other contests? Well, our contest is named after a cat, so we've got that going for us. Is that sufficient? No, I mean, yeah, my cat's name was Blue, and I named the competition after my cat a long time ago, 1998, when Michelle was 4.
3.
Michelle was 3. So Michelle was 3, and I started BlueCat, and now she's here as an intern for BlueCat. Isn't that a sweet story? Well, I don't really like to compare. BlueCat likes to keep the focus on BlueCat. We just try and do a good job. I don't really want to point out why, we do this or that, and, other ones don't do this or that. I don't know. I don't even really keep track of what others are doing. I don't go on message boards and forums anymore and read about what people are talking about or anything. We just want all the work to be on serving the writer, doing a better job, giving you guys content, getting great readers, getting people to enter and send us their material, teaching through our workshops. That's what we want to focus on. I think we do what every other competition tries to do, which is help discover writers, and then help them get access to the industry, and give them maybe a prize or two, and just help support them and acknowledge their great writing, and support them as they work towards their goals as a screenwriter. And I think every competition wants to do that and tries to do that. So yeah, we don't really try and do that, but we were named after a cat, and that's awesome. And yeah, and we have somebody who works for us named Sarah Lynn. I bet there's nobody else named Janessa or Sarah Lynn in any other contest. Okay, so we got that going for us too. But thanks for the question.
What are the 5 biggest mistakes screenwriters make?
The 5 biggest mistakes screenwriters make. Well, 1, they start screenwriting. Right, Sarah Lynn? I mean, Sarah Lynn, why don't you move in here? You're a writer. You can. What do you think? The 5 biggest mistakes. I think the 5 biggest mistakes is, 1, they write from a place of what they think other people think is a screenplay instead of just telling a story. I think they get caught up in external demands that they perceive, like this is what a screenplay is supposed to look like. This is how it's supposed to go down. This is the formula. I read this book, and they don't really respond to their own sense of like what they care about, what they think is a strong story. I think the other thing that people do is I mean, what do you think? I don't know, what was the question again?
Biggest mistakes that screenwriters make.
5 biggest mistakes screenwriters make. I think that they overwrite considerably. I think a lot of them, lots of extra words and a lot of extra dialogue and a lot of extra description. I think most writers, amateurs, do not understand how little, that they don't trust the power of the word, and they don't try and get enough words out. I think the other, doing less with less dialogue and less description, I think that comes up a lot. I think another mistake that writers have is they don't ever have their scripts read out loud. I don't think that they hear the dialogue. I don't think they hear the description. And I think that hurts them because I don't think they get a sense of what's working. I think it's a completely missed opportunity. And I think a lot of writers never do table readings. They never listen. Why would you not listen to it? It's sort of like, I wrote a song, but I'm not going to play it. You know, it doesn't make any sense, does it? Okay, so that's 3. Sarah-Lynn, what did I miss?
I mean, I think just, you know, when people just rush into it, kind of like, I have to do this. Yeah, I found graduating from film school, a lot of people are like, oh, I need to have this many features done by this time, or blah, 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 blah. But it's like, you know, things really can take as long as they need to take because you just need to do it well. So. Yeah,
that's a fantastic. Yeah, people lack patience. I think people are uncomfortable sitting through. One of the things that this happens a lot is people are not comfortable sitting through the rewriting process. They just won't sit there and be patient while they continue to receive notes and continue to have their concerns. They basically just say, okay, enough. I want to move on to a new one, and the rush of a new one, and they get going, but they can't hang in there. And I think it's, I just finished a short, and it's in post-production, and people like it. And I think the reason that people are responding to it is that is because I took that extra time to write a script that I felt comfortable with and that I knew was a good script. And it took a long time. It was sort of embarrassing how I thought, oh, people were like, I thought you were doing that. And it was like taking longer. But I always said, they're not going to say those things later. And no one's going to say anything later. I mean, I just saw Foxcatcher at the New York Film Festival, like I said at the top of the broadcast. And 8 years, working on that movie for 8 years. I mean, he made Moneyball in the middle of it, but he was working on that movie 8 years ago. And it was, I think the first draft came in 8 years ago. So, I mean, that, and they were supposed to release that movie. It was supposed to be at the AFI Film Festival, AFI Fest, last November, 2013, and it wasn't ready. He was like, I'm not ready. And so they pulled it out. It was announced, and they pulled it out, and now it's the closing night film at the film festival on November 13th. And it's like, so it's crazy. But Bennett Miller had the patience to say, look, this isn't ready. And no one is saying, well, it's a great movie. Like, he won Best Director at Cannes, but they didn't. There's not an asterisk in the records of that saying, but he took forever. No one cares about that. They all care about that it's good. So that's 4. What's another one? What is another thing that common mistakes?
This is just something small, but kind of this helps with the reading out loud. But when you're doing dialogue, it really needs to sound like dialogue. People have a tendency to, oh, thank you, John, and that kind of thing. But you really need to just like go to a coffee shop and listen to how people actually speak to each other, because there's a tendency when you're writing, it's very different than.
I think my version of what she's saying is the same thing, but essentially people write dialogue from their memories of watching movies, and they're like, this is movie dialogue. I'm writing dialogue in my screenplay for a movie. And so intuitively you're thinking, okay, bam, bam, bam. But the fact is it's not that easy because you actually should be writing dialogue from your memory of hearing people speak and not your memory of watching people speak in movies. And that's something that people that it happens often enough that I think it's a good one. So there's 5 good things to think about. And so what other questions do we have? We have about 30 minutes left. I just want to remind everybody knows about the deadline. And next Wednesday, we're going to have Werner Herzog, lab participant Josh Nathan, and we're also going to be doing Q&A again. So we'll be doing that, and we'll be asking some questions. So
how do you folks interact with business folks? So Universal, CAA. I'm not exactly sure what that question means.
CAA must be Friday. Must be Friday. Wednesday, CAA. How do you folks interact? How do you? We don't know. I'm not sure we understand the question, but I will say that when we have our list of analysis and we have our list of finalists and winners at the end. When we send that list directly to managers and agents that have been involved with top sales to the studios in the last 12 months, and we have a fairly active list of the very top people, and that's who we send the scripts to, and then they come back to us and we send them the scripts and we interact that way. And that's essentially because we are not a management company, and so we don't facilitate people's careers. We just like make them aware that they won through a contest announcement, and then we do help facilitate them getting the material with permission from the writers that won.
Should unknown writers focus on writing smaller budget scripts, or do they have a chance to sell a big budget script?
Absolutely. They have definitely a chance. I mean, every single person that gets started in the industry and gets anything going was unknown. You don't have to be known. That's where everybody starts off. Everybody starts off where everybody starts off, writing in their home speculatively for no money. And they write a script on their own time, and that's how they practice their, just like, Kobe Bryant or, or any kind of musician or anybody, they just start off where they start off. And in the same way, they practice their craft, and then they start to show their wares to the marketplace, and then they get move forward. So absolutely, write whatever you want. If you want to write a big script, go ahead and do it. Absolutely. If you want to do that, go for it. Absolutely.
One of my critiques was that my characters were overly loquacious, but I feel the problem in most romantic comedies is that the leads don't really find out about one another. I want to show that people do talk and become friends while falling in love. Should I reconsider this or edit their dialogue?
Well, the fact is that you have to do both things at the same time. You can sell that they are that you can sell that they talk to each other a lot and that's how they bond, but you don't have to do that with a lot of dialogue. You're indicating and representing that they're having conversations, because you can have them talk and say a couple things, and then they could be on the subway, then they could be on a park bench, then they could be laying in bed, they could be like, there could be a way to represent that they're getting to know each other through talking, and that without actually physically like transcribing them getting together that way. So absolutely. So it's a trick. It's sort of like when you're trying to show that a character is boring, but you can't actually be boring yourself. And a lot of times it gets that's what Death Proof, the Tarantino movie, he did that Grindhouse thing, and everybody it was almost like he was deliberately like, I'm going to make a deliberately sort of a boring movie that has a really good car chase at the end, and just like the movies that I sort of love where they just sort of talk forever about nothing, but actually he replicated the boredom or the stagnant movie experience so well that it didn't work because it sort of bounced back on him. I mean, that's my sort of my own like little my little assessment of that. But So it's a trick. Like, you want to show that they're getting close by talking, but you don't want to do that with excessive chatty dialogue that we're having to wade through, and doesn't really help us connect to the relationship. So
Someone asked if you're going to go to the New Orleans Film Festival.
I think that's in January or February. When is that? I'd love to come. I mean, I go back to New Orleans. I haven't been in New Orleans this year, and I won't make it this year, but I will. But I'm trying to come back. So I think that maybe it's in April. I don't know when that is, but I'd love to come. So please let us know if you have any inside information on that, or let us know what the dates are, and we'll go back there. But I love New Orleans, and I've taught there several times, and I have a great relationship with people there and the local people there. So I'm excited to go back.
Awesome. Michelle?
Quick question. Difference through line and exposition.
What was the question, Michelle?
Difference between through line and exposition.
Difference between through line and exposition. Well, exposition is a function of. Exposition is when you deliver information about your story. Exposition could be about a character, it could be about an environment, it could be about a relationship, it could be about somebody's history. Exposition is just information and context that you're providing to the audience and or reader to help them engage in the story. It's like, okay, we need to know that they're brother and sister. We need to know that they got divorced a long time ago. We need to know that he grew up there, and or whatever. Any kind of information that sort of establishes. Through line is sort of refers to the plot or the trajectory or of the journey of a story or a character or a relationship between characters. That through line is sort of how we track the narrative as we go through a screenplay. Through line can also represent, a thematic, like, something where we're like sort of a revenge theme is going through the whole, there's a through line. I mean, I'll throw that word around a lot, but it sort of represents sort of a well-paced, continued spine of a particular element of the screenplay. It could be a theme, it could be the story, it could be the character, the through line of Lady Macbeth, the through line of George Bailey, the through line of George and Mary Bailey's marriage, their relationship. So the through line would constitute when they meet as kids and their relationship with their kids and how they court and how they eventually get married, they get children, through the night when he's ready to commit suicide. So, we could be tracking the through line of George and Mary's relationship. Does that make any sense? Mm-hmm. Okay. I don't know.
You might want to. No, I don't know if everyone necessarily knows what that is. So
what, a through line? But I thought I just explained it. Well,
yeah, you did, but the kind of structurally what that looks like.
Well, the through line. Well, structurally, it's like the through line is the I guess the sum total or the culmination, the aggregate total of all the scenes and beats that sort of constitute the journey and pieces of, like, going back to George and Mary Bailey's relationship. It's like going through, it's like the pieces, and you can track, if you watch It's a Wonderful Life, you can see all the different pieces that constitute the through line of their relationship as it goes through the story all the way to the end, where she's standing next to him and with tears in her eyes, and he's got his child Zuzu with him, and the bell rings on the Christmas tree.
Michelle? Best way for characters to talk that speak different languages without subtitles.
What? What's that question? Best way for characters to speak in a different language without subtitles? I think it's difficult because then we won't know what they're saying. If somebody's speaking in Hebrew or in Chinese or something that I don't know, I mean, I'm going to be like, so I think you're going to have to, if you're writing in English for BlueCat, you're going to have to translate. Is that, I mean, I have a feeling that that's not the question you were asking, but I'm going to give you that answer right for now. And that's a question from last week. Do we have any others for this week?
From this week.
Oh, that's from this week.
Yeah.
Okay, so if you're still on, like you want to, if that hopefully that answered it, and if it's didn't, maybe ask it again.
Yeah, that was asked 17 minutes ago.
Okay.
Someone's also asked last week, what is the quintessential screenwriting book that you would recommend for beginners writing feature/short screenplays?
I think this one would be the one that I would recommend. Sarah Lynn, I don't know, agrees with me, but I think this Flash comic, well, I just got some new comics in the mail here, and I bet you one of these will help. Like this Betty and Me. This would help you. In all seriousness, you're like, oh, look at this one. Our Love Story. I think I'm gonna give this to Janessa.
Our Love Story?
Yes. I don't know if you'll just as soon as I get done reading it, because this looks awesome. It's awesome because the guy is like, you're like, why? What's going on here? You know what? I love comic books. That's what's going on. Okay. I'm losing my focus. Oh, there's more in here. Sorry, there's more in this package. I'm just going to get, just a few more. Look at this. Laugh. See that one? It's awesome. Okay. I don't just have Archie's, but I don't know what this, who got this Mad magazine? Did I get this? I don't know where this came from. Okay. I don't really have, I don't know what book, I don't know what book to recommend because I don't know. I think, one book that everybody likes and was written by Will Akers. He teaches at Vanderbilt, I believe, still. And Your Screenplay Sucks. I think it's what it's called. And it's a very popular book because what he did was he used to work out in LA and he went back and raised a family in Nashville and taught at Vanderbilt. And he had so many things that he sort of had his students do. He was always giving them like little pointers about things to just improve their script fundamentally and technically and stuff. And I have a lot of people that really, and I know Will, and I have a lot of people that actually have his book. So I would recommend that. I think that book is a really practical book. A lot of the stuff in there, he talks about very practical things. And he's a writer, for one. He's written and he's done some work in LA, and he's also a teacher. So I think that that's a good book. It's called Your Screenplay Sucks. It's actually been out for a while. For several years, but it's very popular. I think if you Google, let's just Google, or I'm gonna get on Amazon and I'll just quickly look up screenwriting books, and I bet you his book is gonna come up. Screenwriting books. And I'm not just saying that because I know him, but actually I would, because I know a few people that have written books. Trust me. But if you go down and, well, his script isn't even on the, Screenwriting for Dummies is probably pretty good too. But his isn't on the first page, but there's a lot of very, very famous books that are on the first page. But let's go to page 2 and, maybe you changed the title. Anyways, yeah, these are very famous books. Writing Screenplays That Sell, that was one that I read a long time ago. And that's like in the 20th anniversary. How to Write Screenplays That Doesn't Suck. That's not it. Your Screenplay Sucks. So that's the one I would recommend, even though I'm not finding it on Amazon. It is very popular. I've had a lot of people in my classes have it, and it's always a nice because I actually know the guy. And I recommend it simply because he's a writer, he's written professionally, and he's a teacher. and he's paid to teach. He's at a university. Those are things that will eliminate a lot of people that are writing books about screenwriting. Trust me. Okay. Any other questions?
Someone responded to the whole language barrier thing.
Okay.
They said, can characters speak broken English to designate language barrier instead of subtitles?
Yes. Yes, sure. As long as you believe that the reader is going to understand it, just use your own gut and also have other people read it. But a lot of people write in dialect and have concerns about, well, is this going to be translatable? Am I going to be able to understand this? And absolutely, you'll definitely be able to figure out what that is. But again, it's one of those things where if you have the passion and the commitment to do that, then go ahead. Absolutely. So, any other questions?
We have one from last week. What does tone mean when describing a screenplay?
Tone.
Yeah.
Well, tone is it's a very sort of an elusive thing, but I think people get off track sometimes with tone. Like if something is about, let's say, something sort of disturbing, and then it gets sort of comical. These are sort of heavy-handed ideas, but it can mix us the wrong way. If we're sort of like if we're watching a comedy and then all of a sudden it gets really heavy, we're like we didn't know where it was going, so we're like expecting a comedy, and it can be very jarring if suddenly it gets heavy and serious. So a comic tone versus a dark, disturbing tone, or a lighter tone, or a nostalgic tone, and then suddenly it gets very farcical versus something that's very serious, like if a documentary sudden a feel or something very serious, and then all of a sudden it just started getting really wacky and over the top. That would be jarring. It wouldn't mix well, and our expectations as an audience, we develop a relationship with the story as it's going along, and if suddenly there's a tone shift, that can really be jarring, and it changes our expectation. If we go into a movie or even if we don't know anything about a script and we start reading it, and it's like, okay, this is a heavy script about a horror, somebody getting pursued by a serial killer, some thriller, and then suddenly it just starts to get really campy. Then we'll feel a little shortchanged because our adrenaline and our energy is going in one direction, and suddenly it's getting yanked in the other. And so it's almost like we're making ourselves vulnerable to a piece. And in any way, we could be like, oh, I'm ready to laugh, and then suddenly something heavy happens, and it's like it can be very upsetting to an audience when that happens. There was a film with Jennifer Aniston and Vince Vaughn called The Breakup, and it was sort of started off like a Vince Vaughn romantic comedy, Jennifer Aniston, funny. It was Jennifer Aniston, right? Yeah. And then at some point she ends up having a, I don't want to spoil it, but she ends up having a miscarriage, and there are some things that just sort of threw people because suddenly it became a much more serious movie, and I think that they sort of lost control of it because people had been going along and sort of expecting certain things, and then their expectations were sort of ripped on them. Does that make any sense, Sarah-Lynn?
Yeah, that movie was really weird. I mean, because Vince Vaughn, he for one is typecast, so he wasn't a good casting choice for that film. But you think it's going to be a happy-go-lucky, and then it's just depressing about marriage failing, and they're on different sides and fighting, and it's just. You walk out feeling completely unsatisfied.
Yeah.
That's kind of the root of the screenplay. It's like, it's just weird.
Yeah.
It's like they couldn't decide what genre they
Yeah, and
wanted.
it was definitely, I mean, that's like the classic. If you want to sort of learn about how switching tone up is going to affect you, that's a great movie to watch. And it had a very admirable objective. I think Vince Vaughn can act. And I think when he gets away from his comic persona, he does start to, he's got a lot of range actually, but when he's doing his comic thing, that's what we often see because it's so successful, sort of like Owen Wilson or something, it's very successful because they're funny. I mean, Vince Vaughn is like, I saw Swingers in Austin in last year, I think, and I hadn't seen the movie probably since it came out. And it was just astonishing. I was like, oh my God, that's Vince Vaughn. It's like the same guy, and he's just doing the same thing. But it's because of the comedy thing. But if he does something dramatic, so I think he had his heart in the right place, but that's a great example for tone.
Same with Admission, that Tina Fey, Paul Rudd movie.
Okay, I didn't see that.
The two of them, they're kind of classical comedy, and then you just watch it, and it's just not. You just walk out, same thing, feeling completely unsatisfied because they set it up like, oh, it's going to be funny and whatever, and it's just once again depressing. So. Yeah,
and it didn't deliver.
No.
So there's something about audience expectations and that there's something about that. I don't really know. I have to think about that, like why that can be upsetting for people. Like when you have expectations about, like, because why is that a bad thing? If something just changes, maybe it is just an expectation of when you're vulnerable emotionally as an audience member, but you're expecting like to laugh. And the thing is, laughing is a very vulnerable thing. I mean, people start laughing. It's like, that's why in an audience, when other people start to laugh, then everybody starts to laugh. It gets very infectious because people feel like, I can laugh at anything. I feel comfortable, and they just start laughing and they're expressing their enjoyment, and it is humble, and and so suddenly it's like we're like, no, we're not going to make you laugh anymore. It's sort of like, or it's almost like when something changes into a serious movie, they're almost like saying, why are you laughing? And it's almost like it makes it sort of a weird thing, but it's something to think about. I have to figure out how to articulate why that works, but it definitely it doesn't work. But I want to know why. Like, why is it that people get disappointed when something switches up like that?
I think it's the same thing. If you watch any movies that come from Europe, they don't have like a classic ending. The movie just keeps going on, But that's when you try and put those kinds of movies in American cinema, that's just a problem because Americans like to have everything defined and, just kind of a start and an end. So when you have the tone that switches up, it's that whole thing. You go in, I want a horror movie. I'm going to go in and see this, and that's what I want to get. So
right.
It messes with people, but sometimes it can work pretty well. With like Cabin in the Woods, that was kind of a horror and a comedy at the same time, and that worked well. But I think it's just the balance.
Yeah, sometimes you can switch it and it works, and it's awesome. But but it does go back to the relationship that you create and strike with your audience. And our consciousness of that, we have to think about what that is and what that looks like. So, okay, well, do we have any other questions?
From last week, should I copyright my script before I send it to the competition or just register with WGA?
I think that you're probably safe registering it with the WGA. I think it's very easy. I think it's easy to copyright it too. I think you might be overdoing it. I wouldn't be too worried, but I think supporting the WGA and uploading it to their site and registering it with them, that's gonna make you comfortable. Copywriting is obviously that's the end all be all. I mean, Library of Congress, and you can do that online too.
Yeah.
You can copyright your scripts online. So if you feel really adamant about security, then just go to the Library of Congress website and copyright your script before you send it. But you can always just do the WGA, and you'll have a case at least to make if something happens. But we've been around since 1998, and we've never had anybody come back to us and say, "Hey, wait a minute, BlueCat this or anything." That's never happened. So it's not going to happen. But I don't want to say don't do anything. I think developing a habit of supporting yourself in that way of being like, look, I registered it. It's good to give yourself little benchmarks. I mean, what do you do when you write your script, Sarah Lynn?
I typically register them with the WGA. There was one that I copyrighted, but that's because I was like sending it out to multiple agents, multiple managers, that kind of thing. So
okay,
so WGA, I feel completely fine just doing WGA.
Okay, yeah, that's gonna you're gonna be able to go back and say like, hey, look, on, November 4th, 1997, I like uploaded this script. You want to read it? It's like, here's the WGA has it. It's had it since 1997. And you'll see that after I showed it to you a year later, I mean, you could get the ball rolling to create a little, you probably create some protection for yourself. So again, I wouldn't worry too much about it.
Or even like the poor man's copyright. Like that's what one of my film professors at Chapman used to tell me, just like, send it to a professor that you trust in an email, or like with a, like a stamped envelope, that kind of thing. So it's dated, and like you kind of have the dialogue of, this is my idea and I had it so many years ago. So
yeah, I mean, all that stuff is going to be helpful, but I think it's easier to just, you spend a little money, invest in it, because it does create some structure for your career, and it's helpful. It does make you be like, okay, yeah, you're more secure, and you feel like you're more serious about the drafts you're uploading. You work a little harder when you're in that habit of doing that. So, any other questions?
When you're writing scripts loosely based on real life, do you need rights?
When we have a script based on real life, do we, what? What was the question again? I'm like,
do you need the rights?
Yeah, when loosely based on a real person.
Yeah, I mean, you really gotta, I mean, that's tricky. I mean, I think that, you want to make, if you don't own the life rights, or you don't have permission from that person, then you need to just make your story different. It needs to be different, with, you need to go ahead and change that to make sure it's not, because why would you get yourself in that trouble of being like, well, I'm writing about you, but I don't have your permission, and it's going to blow up in your face if anything ever happens. It just, so I would be careful. I mean, I always say, just be creative enough to, develop your own piece, and just make sure it's different enough. I mean, do you ever have that experience?
With what you guys talking
about? Yeah, with real life, like writing about. I mean, what would you suggest?
No, I mean, I've never written a screenplay that borrows from real life, but I have had friends who have written stuff that happened in the past, in like the 1800s kind of a thing, and they always email and have contact with kind of their ancestors and
I mean, I think you really gotta look. Yeah, you got to look at it like, people's their lives and their stories are their property unless they're not, and you want to make sure to check into that. But always, it's just better to just sort of, just see if you can write something. If you don't have the rights, and you're not working with collaboration with somebody who has the rights, then I would, write something original enough so that you don't have that issue. So, what else? Any other questions? We had
people are kind of quiet.
We had a couple questions. We had a question last week about why you only have one reader this year, and I think we had a couple years, maybe 3 years or 2 years, where we went to 2 readers, and the reason I did that when we did that was because I was concerned that with only one reader, we were missing out on scripts. Like if a scripter, I thought if we had 2 readers, then that would allow, if one reader didn't like the script but another person did like the script, then it might catch that script before it got through, and like we wouldn't lose it, because if but what I noticed over the couple of years that we did this sort of trial period of doing this is when one of our readers didn't like the script or didn't respond to a script, I didn't respond either. So it was like, basically I said, you know what, we need to trust the reader, because if we're gonna have 2, we might as well have 5. If we're going to try and, we needed to trust our readers, because basically when a script had both readers that really liked it, then there was a really good chance that I would really like it. But when there was a reader that was in disagreement and didn't respond, I almost always, and I really tracked that last year. I really tracked it, and I started to really get obsessive about it. Like I sort of like kept looking and realizing that basically when one of our readers said no, I was going to pass too, and it wasn't advancing. So yes, are we still going to lose scripts? Yes. Are we, but I realize that I need to just hire the best readers, trust the readers, like start low and go through the pile and make sure that we go, I see as many scripts as possible. Absolutely. But I realize that the strain and the extra organization, yes, you get 2 pieces of feedback over 1. Who wouldn't like that? But for the benefit of the competition and the future of BlueCat and the adjudication process, it wasn't doing what I thought it was going to do. I thought it was going to catch something, and it wasn't catching anything. I was never going, oh my God, somebody like got the script and it got through, and it didn't happen. It wasn't happening. I thought in theory, it sounds good, doesn't it? That would happen, but it didn't. It didn't. And so I realized it's like, okay, we've got to for the spirit, in the spirit of the competition, then we need to go back to 1 reader and just trust and read those readers and like go through our pool like that, knowing that our readers are so carefully selected by me and that I'm like looking at enough scripts that we're probably not going to, because basically the last few years, those scripts came through with flying colors from all the readers that ended up being like the winner of this year didn't have 1 reader that didn't like. I mean, it wasn't happening the way I thought, and so that's why we changed back to what we'd been doing for many years. So we kind of experimented with that for a while. Now we're back to 1. So, and it looks like people are sort of still entering BlueCat and realizes that it's BlueCat's still helpful and viable. So I think that is, we're out of time. So what we're going to do next week is we're going to have a discussion again from 4 to 6. We're going to meet the guy who went to the Warner Herzog Lab. We're also going to talk to Emily from BlueCat, talk a little bit more about your submission process, try and get some, like what are the questions that she gets, maybe you have, and we'll get into that, and then we'll also ask more questions from me. Let us know if this is a good time. Maybe should we do this a little bit later in the evening? That might be part of it. Is maybe we'll schedule a little bit later, maybe 6 to 8. That maybe more people can participate, or 7 to 9. Then we could have people, maybe there's more people, because it is still work, like rush hour and people getting home to their families and everything. So maybe it'll be better. Maybe we'll experiment with the hours next time. We're just new to Ustream, so we're looking for it, but it might be better to move to the evening. But we'll do that next week. But give us some feedback on that, and any feedback at all on this. This has been great, and we so appreciate you coming and talking to us. And we'll have the transcript. If you missed any of this, the broadcast will be up. You'll be able to watch the whole broadcast on our channel, and make sure to know, again, as everybody knows, the deadline is Wednesday. For early feedback. After Wednesday, you won't receive your feedback from BlueCat until February. So get it in by Wednesday to get your early feedback. And if you're not ready, then just submit it by November 15th, and it'll get it into the competition. And thank you so much for all your questions, and wonderful time this afternoon for us. And from all of us at BlueCat, I'm going to say goodbye, and we'll see you next week. Okay. Thanks so much.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.